This episode is brought to you by Google Chrome. You think you know a browser, but Gemini and Chrome? That's new. It can help you with practically anything on the web, like restoring a vintage motorcycle from a 50-page restoration blog, or finally break down that long article you've had open for weeks. Gemini and Chrome is here for it. Ready to make anything online make sense? There's no place like Chrome. Check responses, setup required, compatibility and availability varies, 18+.
Good sleep is everything. That's why Ollie's Science Back Support is made with a blend of melatonin and L-theanine for both kiddos and grown-ups. So when your mind won't switch off, you've got something that can help. Your racing thoughts and restless nights won't stand a chance. Find Ollie Sleep Solutions for the whole family at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com.
Most people think comfort means you're doing something right. My guest today is living proof. It might mean you've already started losing. Welcome back to Speaking with Confidence, a podcast that helps you build the soft skills that lead to real results. Communication, storytelling, public speaking, and showing up with confidence in every conversation that counts. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you on your journey to becoming a powerful communicator. Today's guest is Saeed Eshaghi. Saeed is the founder of Lead Beyond and a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team member and DISC consultant. He is the author of his latest book, Escape from Comfort, which is his life story turned into life lessons. After a successful scientific career, Saeed rebuilt his professional life twice, transforming into a leadership expert who helps professionals at every stage navigate transitions through his proprietary FAR framework. Saeed brings an analytical rigor, multicultural perspective, and deep empathy to helping leaders communicate effectively and build stronger relationships while navigating through different stages in their lives. Saeed, welcome to Speaking with Confidence, bud.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So today's conversation is going to be a little bit different, but really kind of in a good way. We're not just going to be talking about communication tactics. We're going to be talking about what happens before people ever open their mouth. And sometimes that's could mean the difference between life and death. And so I really want to preface that with the audience, because say you've got an incredible story. And let me back up for a second, just so the audience knows. Saeed and I have known each other for a while. We're friends, and I'm so glad he agreed to come on the show and share his story. But Saeed, let's start there. Let's start at the beginning. You're in Iran and your parents made a life-changing decision. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So it was not an abrupt that this is what we're going to do. It was going on for a while. We were talking about it, and as I was growing older, I was in my early teens, those discussions and conversations started because the war between Iran and Iraq was going on, and it was just getting worse and worse. And there was a ban on boys leaving the country as soon as they turned 15. So as I was getting closer to that age, there were different ways they were thinking of getting us out, and us, it's me and my brother, who is 5 years older than me. So those conversations were going on, and for my brother, my older brother, it was already too late. He was already about 15, and I was approaching. So it was an ongoing conversation. It started at one point, we got to do something. I had two siblings already in Europe. Also, there were a lot of people that we could hear about, either from distant friends or relatives, that they had sent their sons out of the country to save them from the regime, as well as save them from going to the war. But at one point it became real, because when I was not 15 years old yet, one of the conversations, one of the ways to do that would be for my mom. I would go together with my mom, and we just get a visa or something to go to Sweden to my sister. But it never became. I don't know the details of that actually. And as time went by, then it was just too late for me to leave. So then this decided to send me and my brother together on that journey by hiring a human smuggler so that they could so we would basically escape by crossing the border, which was the between Iran and Iraq, and then it's pretty rocky, pretty high mountains there. Yeah.
Again, obviously, this isn't uh, it's not an easy trip. It's it happened. Again, the decision, like I said, it wasn't a split immediate decision, but when it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
Things started happening very quickly, and talk about your journey and about how you actually ended up getting to Sweden.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. That the last part became absolutely abrupt. So although we understood that we were going to go on this journey, if you will, or this escape, and pretty unknown, but what one thing about that was also, when I think about it today, that how naive I was, not really understanding like what is it I'm getting myself into. But yeah, we were supposed to be outside of Tehran for practicing in the mountains so that we would be ready. So that's what the smuggler, the contact person, told my parents. And and then that day, that night, we were getting ready. We had our backpacks. But it was just like, okay, we're going to be just outside of Tehran, and then we're coming back in a few days. But it was not like that, because that lady, she wanted, that's what she said. True or false, I don't know. But it was because that she wanted to spare all of us from that dramatic goodbye
Mm-hmm.
of literally that, okay, you know if we were under the impression that this is it, that tomorrow we're leaving, and
Right.
there's no knowledge of when we're going to see each other, me and my brother and our parents, when we're going to
Mm-hmm.
see each other, what's going to happen to us actually. That could have been an really dramatic. So she wanted to spare us on that. So as soon as my parents dropped us off, she told us that we're actually heading to the border the next day.
And
After that, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, let's stop there for a second, and
Yeah.
that's a. I don't want to diminish anybody's life or trauma or what they've been through, but when you start to think about this and how timely this is with what's going on in Iran right now, this is, you're dealing with serious things, and you're a child, right? Not knowing, and I kind of understand the smuggler not wanting to have that, because I mean, you never know. Number one, if you have that, you don't know if you're going to see your parents again. Your parents don't know if they're going to see you again, and that trauma of the split, you going one way and your parents go another way, that could have and would have scarred you as a young child forever, and could have, even if you made it out and where you are today, could have changed your life right from the get-go, before you even get started off on the journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, Again, the smuggler, she turned out not to be the most truthful person down the road, but yet, because of that and the way she approached that, it was never this cold-hearted person. It was never this, all right, now I got you and you're on my control and I can do whatever I want. Like, there was
Mhm.
absolutely nothing like that. It felt even more comforting. She had this comforting presence, very mother-like. She talked about her sons, and that according to her were similar age to us, and that was true because we at some point she used their passports instead of to show that we are her sons. That's when we were in Turkey. So but the way that she was like, we felt comfortable, we felt confident
Right.
with her. Obviously our parents had trusted her, and the way she painted the picture of the possibility of, in a few days we're going to be in Turkey, we're going to be out, and instead of having this heartbreaking moment, your parents and yourselves will be actually happier, and you're getting closer to Sweden. And all that brought that positivity, like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, and even if she didn't turn out to be the good person that you thought, she still got you out. You still made it across the border. You still made it through Turkey and into Sweden, and so I'm thinking, again, at 15, you don't know what's going on. I mean, you do as much as you can at 15, right?
Yeah.
But how much of your survival do you think came down to the things that you said versus things that you didn't say?
I really got to dig deep there. Constantly, I have been, when I look back as I was writing the book, and it was really reflecting to my childhood, things that even before the escape, I believe I've always been that positive, looking at things from a positive point of view. And before even knowing what positive means, and what being positive would be, even at school. So, for example, I had always to be number one, right? Always be the A student and score in every subject, even the subjects that I hated, including religion, including Quran, Arabic. These were the subjects that I absolutely hated, but I still would score A. Because it was not about, I don't know exactly what to. It was basically, I get a win. I get a
right.
I cannot have something to drag the rest of my scores down. So no matter how much I hate Quran to study it, but I have to get an A, and I have to excel, and I have to stand out on everything. I believe that is the one that has followed me through, even during the escape, even during the times that, sometimes, not sometimes, every time we were still in Iran, and we were getting closer to a village, and then where we were supposed to rest, we had to stay lie on the floor, on the ground, and in a ditch somewhere, so that we're not visible, so that the guide would go to the village, find a home, and make it a secure home, pay them whatever, and then send somebody to pick us up. And pretty much every time there, it could be that, what's the guarantee that somebody's going to come back and pick us up?
Right.
We're in the middle of nowhere. Nobody knows where we are, and nobody knows us. And I mean, could be us and dogs.
I'm glad you can chuckle and laugh a little bit about it now, but I mean, at the time, you're right. I mean, it's what would have happened. You lay in there for 3 days, and all right, I got to go to the bathroom. I got to get some food, but I don't want to get up, right? Because I mean, that's the tough and funny part about all of it. And again, I think about the whole idea of the smuggler, right? if you're a smuggler, first off, I mean, you got how good of a person can you be to begin with, right? But then you have to trust them. But for you, your parents knew that they had to trust somebody to get you and your brother to safety.
Yeah.
So you have to trust somebody who's not trustworthy. And in the end, that's the dichotomy you've got to fight with in your mind to do the right thing. And even still, as you get through Turkey, you get to Sweden, and now you're kind of on your own. You've got to learn a new language.
Yeah.
You've got to learn to trust people that you don't really know, that you have a language barrier with. So at what point did you realize that you're in Sweden, that you still can't really express who you are yet? And when did that finally happen for you?
Yeah. I do want, Tim, to address the part about the smuggler. And there's this famous quote by Nelson Mandela that when the government, whoever it is, they are stripping all your rights from you as a human being, then you're not left with doing nothing else other than being outlaw. And if we look back at Second World War and the famous movie Schindler's List,
yes.
So Schindler was also doing not the right thing based on the current regime of the Nazis, right? But he saved a lot of people. So the actual guides that we were dealing with, the persons that were helping us from village to village, they were actually really good people, nice people, and they helped us. They helped a lot of people doing that work, that escape. The problem usually, what we found out, was with those that were never really in the trenches either. They were It's because it's a team, right? It's a team of people doing certain things. So the contact person for us, that lady that my parents had trusted and talked to, so she was the lead. She would orchestrate the whole thing, but the individuals that were in the trenches were actually walking with us, showing us how to escape, were other people. They were good people versus the people that were never really in the trenches, and they were directly dealing with the money and with the delivery and all that. The problems were usually with them.
Right?
And that's and you go back to think that there are good and bad people everywhere. There are good doctors, bad doctors. There are good politicians, bad politicians, and
we're still looking for some good ones right now.
So, but to answer to your question, how to trust people after that, what else is there? Like when I arrived in Sweden, after seeing everything that I had seen during the escape, even before the escape, a couple of weeks that everything was just delaying and things were not going according to the plan. And then that year in Turkey, people that we met from the UN, from Turkish police, from other Iranians there. After arriving in Sweden, it became very clear for me that I was now in an environment that was very different from Turkey, and very, very much different from Iran in terms of human values, in terms of taking care of people, in terms of actually meaning something, helping. And that difference was so enormous that it didn't make any sense to not trust that new environment. And um, again, being positive, I was drawn to that whole environment. I just wanted to integrate as fast as possible, being one of them, and move forward, run toward where I was planning always, since I was a kid, wanted to get to. So it was it was not a struggle actually. It was more of,
Mm.
all right, like let's go. Like
Right.
I'm behind. I got to catch up. I have things to do.
And you know, I've heard you tell a story about being in school in Sweden, and you had a teacher who went out on the limb and really kind of helped you. What was it? I forget which subject. Was it history?
With
Was
social
it
studies,
social studies? Yeah,
yes,
and how that kind of you know really kind of changed and shaped your academic career. Um,
exactly. Yeah,
just talk briefly about that, because I do want to get into that. Tell everybody that you ended up with a PhD in in this is biology, right? And you rose
biochemistry.
biochemistry,
Yeah,
and you became one of the top biochemists in the world. But we'll get to that. Talk about social studies as a kid and what that teacher did for you.
yeah, absolutely. So I was, I always say that it's one thing to learn a
Mhm.
language when you move to a new country and it's brand new language. And then after a few months, you can order a pizza, you can order a cab, you can talk to
Right.
people. But it's another thing to study in high school, at that level. And the class that I was part of, it was pretty smart class. So I had really smart people to compete with. um, and I didn't know the academic language, I mean,
Right.
not even the regular language that well. I remember a couple of times in early on as I was, talking to my newly made friends, and sometimes they were, they were challenging me, and at one point, my friend said that, "Wow, I asked you three questions and you answered all of them. It was not that you only remembered one." And that was, and I remember that was that. Wow, yeah, I did that actually. So I was excelling in my language speaking and understanding capabilities. It was so hard to understand. Okay, now I'm learning about European history. Now I'm learning about the culture. Now I'm learning about the social system in Sweden, and a lot of things that were new to me by
Mhm.
default now in a new language. And now I have to do tests on those, and I have to compete with people that are grown up there. It was just like layers of the layers of
Right.
layers of. And so the problem was that several subjects that I always excelled in Iran, I was having problems with, because I was not just studying that subject, I was also challenged by the language. So I
Mhm.
was being graded not based on my subject proficiency, but also on my language proficiency on a different subject than Swedish. So, but this teacher, she understood that, and she really didn't want me to have, because of that handicap, she didn't want that to be the determining factor for how she's going to grade me. And at one point, when I was still struggling, I couldn't get more than a D constantly on that subject, she's had the test verbally, and
Mhm.
and at, for the first time I got a C in social studies. And that's when she's like, "Ah, Said, I got you. You understand the question. When I explain them to you, you understand them much better." And then she started having only verbal tests for me. So every time she gave us a test, she brought another teacher to watch the rest of the class. And then she took me to another room, and we had my test verbally. And by the time, and then also another thing she did was that I had an F like the first year in social studies, but she disregarded that. Even
Mhm.
second year, I think my grades were like C at most. But it was mostly in the third year that I was doing well and are getting B's. and she gave my final subject in social studies a B. So she disregarded those years that she saw that I was actually getting better. She saw the improvement. Whereas my chemistry teacher, which I mean, that was my subject. That's something that I was passionate about, and I was constantly getting A's on that. Because the first year I got a C in chemistry, she gave me a B.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
So that was such a distinguished difference between how a teacher is actually helping somebody with moving on in their lives and succeeding, and somebody is just blind. But okay, these are the things I have. I have to check these boxes.
Yeah, and that's I think that's critical for people to understand that. That perspective of it, and to let's take that a step further now. Now being where you are and looking back on that situation, how did that experience shape the way you communicate today with people who struggle to express themselves?
Yeah.
So reverse those roles, right?
Yeah, exactly. When I'm looking back, it was not something that I was directly thinking about when I was, becoming a scientist and a principal investigator, an associate professor, and all that. As I was helping other PhD students, at that point, I didn't reflect to that. Oh yeah, my social studies teacher did this to me. I owe it to move it, pass it on forward. But I believe it carried with me, because when I was reflecting on that down the road, like, my gosh, like if it wasn't for her, I hadn't been able to even get into chemistry program, or maybe it would have been a delay, or I don't know what would have happened. But what she did was so instrumental. So when I was helping my PhD students, people that I was supervising, I really made sure that I'm actually there with them, because of the things that I remember that I struggled with. And I wanted to build them up from that part, the parts that I didn't get help myself on when I was a PhD student. I wanted to provide it to them so that they have a better way of really learning how to write a research article, how to write a report, how to express results, all those things. So when I'm looking back at it, it is from that part. And now that I am, my mission is now to help people getting out of where they are to where they want to be. It becomes even more that I constantly think about that. Yeah, my social studies teacher, she didn't need to do that. She could have been just like any other teacher, just checking the boxes. So I don't do that either. I make sure that I take the extra step, extra mile, and then let's see where we go from there, without having that type of agenda that what's in it for me.
Yeah, and I think as we do the work that you and I are doing, a lot of people, they have the feeling that there's more, that there's something there, but they don't know how to get to it. They don't know how to dig deep to it. They don't know how to express it.
Yeah.
And having the experience that you had with this, I think that helps and makes it a lot easier to help people find that, whatever it is, to dig deeper or to ask the right questions, to be able to get that and pull it out so that we can help them get from point A to point B.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So during the transition, from Iran to Sweden, in school, what was the dominant voice in your head? Was it fear? Was it confidence? Was it survival? Was it something else? what was that dominant voice that was in your head?
It was about ending up in, think of a better place. Think of,
Okay.
I was daydreaming a lot. Let me put it this way. And I was seeing myself, I'm in Sweden, I'm studying, this is all gone. I have this, how in movies, when they have like something going on, and then there is this sound, like there's this violin sound, and then changes the scenes, is like 10 years later,
Yes.
and then there's a new. I was playing that in my head, playing that violin, like, big orchestra sound, and now, like, 2 years later, and I'm there. And so that moment when I was sitting in a cold um, room inside, in a suburb, freezing and all that, but thinking of that, no, it is going to be better.
Right.
I will be somewhere else. Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of thinking that as I hear that, you're the thoughts in your head that you want to go from survival to leading and thriving, right? We're right now. I get it right now. I'm just getting by. I'm just getting by. But soon, eventually, it's all going to be in the past. I'm going to be at this level. And the reality was that happened for you. I mean, you you went from survival mode to earning a PhD faster than most people could ever even imagine. And like I already mentioned, you grew to the top of your profession really, really quickly. Talk about that. And, to kind of input some of these things here, you and I have talked about communication and how sometimes, especially people in academia, that type A high performance, we've got to move through this, and we use communication as a sledgehammer sometimes. Yeah. Talk about those things with you and how you went again from survival to excelling and that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, communication itself, it was being able to properly communicate. And everybody may have their own level of, what is a proper communication, and that's okay. For me, exactly as you said, for me was, I don't want the communication itself, how I talk to people, what's going on in my head, to be a handicap. So I was determined, first of all, when I got to Sweden, to speak like a native Swedish. That it was nothing else. It was, I didn't want to have the foreign accent. I don't want to have any of those. Yes, my hair is black. I'm Middle Eastern, like all of that. That's okay, but I don't want to. I want to have that. I want to make that impression that people would say that, oh wow, you speak so well, and that was exactly what I was receiving. And that is part of that, because again, back in Iran, even if I was studying Islam and I hated it, I was still getting an A. When I was studying Quran, right, I was getting an A. So because I guess it was always part of my identity. I have to be the best. I have to excel. Like I have to win, right? So, and that part was something that was a driving force for me. That no, I'm going to speak just like them. If they talk on the phone with me, they wouldn't tell, right? And I succeeded with that. But then, because I get a win, I felt that I had lost 1 year in Turkey because of the weight. And then when I arrived in Sweden, I lost another year because I was studying Swedish to become really proficient and be able to start high school. So constantly for years, I saw myself that I have lost 2 years of my life and I have to catch up. I was 2 years older than my classmates in high school. That's why I could buy them alcohol because I was the legal age to buy alcohol.
So you did have a purpose.
Absolutely. And that was fun to be a dealer in school. But because of that, I always felt that I have to catch up. I have to run faster. I have to win back the time that I lost. And which was again part of that, I get a win. And if I'm behind by 2 years, I'm losing. So,
right.
So that was, I used that as fuel to absolutely push myself to the maximum and not just become one of the ones that I looked up to, but really reach that recognition of that. Okay, yeah, I did it. I made up the time.
Yeah, and you did. And again, you rose to the top of your field in a very difficult research-based area, right? I mean, what I do, you don't have to be rocket science. I mean, it's my background is in sport marketing and public relations. I mean, you could start talking to me and my eyes would glaze over. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's smart people right there. And but did you find as you started to really progress in that field, in the STEM field, that people truly struggled to communicate outside of that technical bubble? So you could talk to each other, but when you went to go and talk to somebody outside of the STEM field about what you're doing, or to write grants, or to present things, how much struggle did you see there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I have always been very mindful of that. And we had one professor. He then became the head of the Nobel Committee for Chemistry. He was an amazing professor, an amazing educator and communicator. Mm-hmm. And the way every time he taught something, you understood, like when he was in the classroom and he explained about a very, again, a complex subject, you could see it. He would explain it in a way that you would visualize it. And somebody actually asked him about that how are you so good? I mean, he was infamous for he was very famous for that. And then he said that years ago, he had to give such study, like almost like courses, but for public on radio, about biochemistry, about proteins, about how things work. So giving such presentation on radio to public made him to really dig deep and find ways to how to explain something complex in a way that normal person, non-scientist person, can understand without even seeing it, by just hearing it. And that was an inspiration for me to make it simple, to make certain things simple enough that be mindful that, okay, he's my best friend, and but he has no idea about my world. So if I'm going to explain something, what are the words I'm going to use so that it becomes easier for him to get an understanding, and not going to do the work necessarily, but just have an understanding that, oh, okay, so this is what you do. I don't know if I always succeeded with that, but that was something that I was actually mindful of.
Yeah, and that's a really good principle for everybody to truly understand. You've got to be able to communicate your message so that a sixth grader could understand it, an eighth grader could understand it.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get The best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
If you want to, if you want to build influence and leadership, right? They've got to be able you've got to be able to condense that message to a point that everybody can understand it. And now here's the downside to that. And you and I talked about this a little bit before we started, the whole idea of that you talk about in chapter 12 of your book, mind laundering.
Yeah.
Right. Now, now what I'm talking about now isn't mind laundering, but this is where it really kind of starts. So we take the big picture and we condense it to something smaller, but talk to us a little bit about I know we've jumped forward a bunch of years, but about how you got to that point and you realized some of the things that you realized and came up with this term mind laundering.
Yeah. So let me go back then to tell the story about when I was 17 and I wanted to kiss a pretty girl in Sweden. And so because this is how it is. This is how I believe mind laundering works. That we always talk about brainwashing as that, okay, this person is brainwashed. But I believe that, yes, that happens. There are people that have been brainwashed. But even the word itself, like its brain has been washed. Like there are, like it could be removed of any principles, any values, any what quality, like all that have been washed and replaced with something that the person that wants to be in control, a dictator, whatever it is using, and like, okay, this is all you need to know. But that is an extreme case when it goes to brainwashing. Mind laundering is something that is done on a daily basis for, in different ways, just because if a person wants to reach their own agenda and doesn't need to work much on years of propaganda, years of brainwashing, all that. It could be done. So I was at a friend's house, and this, again, I was 17 years old. My friend, 17 years old, more or less, and his, second cousin, something like that, somebody that he knew came. He was in his late 20s, I think, and he looked already to be a little bit stoned, and he had a 6-pack with him, and start to, drinking, and he started to ask me questions about me and my life and all that. And then when I talked to him about a little bit about what did, then he's like, oh my God, yeah, I have a lot of traumas as well. So he started suddenly, and he was a little stoned, a little drunk, all that together. He's talked about all his life traumas, his rehab thing, car accident he had, hospitalization. He was like all of that. I was just listening. And for me was that no matter who it is and what they say, as long as it is Swedish speaking and I'm training my Swedish, I'm like, all right, good, let's talk. So I was enjoying it from that point of view. And then later on, my friend, one of his female friends called and say, hey, come over. I have some of my friends here. My parents are not home. We can have a little party. So the three of us went there, and there were 3 girls there. And one of them was really pretty. And I'm like, I would love to.
we know what 17 boys are thinking.
Exactly. I was just 17. Yes. So, but then I'm thinking like, okay, how to make a move and all that. And I thought, okay, you know what? They see me as a foreigner. They see me. They don't understand my background. I'm going to use that. So I said that, you know what? I can read your palms and tell your fortune. I learned that from my grandpa. and they're all laughing in my face, and I'm still playing on that role that. And I tell the girl, do you want me to read your poem? She's like, no, I don't want you to do that. And then this guy, he was there, he was already drunk. And it's like, yes, hey, read my hand. I'm like, oh my God, that was, no.
It doesn't work on you. It doesn't work on you.
But then I thought that, okay, he may not remember. He may remember. I'm just going to take my chances. So I started telling him everything that he, a few hours ago, already told me about his past. I started to tell him all those things. And he was looking at, oh my gosh, where's the car accident? He believed every single word I was saying. And now it's like, okay, so what's going to happen in the future? Well, now I have him. I can tell whatever I want. And I did tell whatever I wanted. And it's like, oh my gosh, when is this going to happen? Like, and I was just making things up. And now all the girls were actually engaged and looking like they believed that I actually could read his hand. I mean, I just met him, and they saw that I just met him, and they saw that he's like, oh my God, you are That's actually funny. A palm reader. And now I was able, like, I told the girl, do you want me to read your palms? Like, okay. And of course, we ended up making out after that, which was great. But the point is, I did all that for my own personal agenda. I couldn't do any of those things. But I used the situation, something that he knew, and I used that in order to create that credibility for myself. And then when I created that, then I could do whatever I wanted. And the audience also believed that. And that is how mind laundry works. It just takes and I use that word because it's of the money laundering, right? Money launderers, they take a money from a bad activity and mix it with something that is good, and mix it and then put it out there so that you can't tell the difference. That's basically money laundering. And mind laundering, the same thing. I have my own intentions mixed with something that may be okay, may be good, and maybe positive. I'm helping this person with his future, right? Telling his future, but I just wanted to kiss a girl. When it comes to propaganda, when it comes to politics, when it comes to an organization, a cult, like anything that they have their own agenda, but then they can mix it with something that we believe in. Like, for example,
right.
Nobody wants to pay extra tax, so the tax dollars need to be used for our schools. And why are we using it for war? Why are we doing this and that? And of course, nobody wants to use money for war. No normal person want to do that. And people want money to be used for the roads, for the schools, for the hospitals, et cetera, et cetera. But leaving, and then once you have that audience that, oh, okay, yeah, I'm listening, now you can come with your agenda of false information. That's when you're laundering the mind of a person that still has their values. They have their mind right. They are good people, but you have got them in a way of thinking that whatever is going on is not good because it's not of the person saying those words. It's not according to their agenda, and they want to change people's mind with playing with the way that they communicate with people, and they're very confident. They can be very strong in their message. They are actually good communicators in that regards. They can connect, but it is all about the intention behind it.
Yeah, and you said a lot of really good points there. The first thing that jumps out at me is they can connect with you, right? Is if you can connect with somebody and you build that rapport, that relationship, it makes whatever it is that you're talking about or communicating about, that much more accepted and less questioned, less. I wouldn't say rational thought, but maybe we don't actually, maybe we don't give it any more thought than that. Yeah, this person is a friend. They're smart. They know about these things, so I'm not going to question them. They may say some things that sound right, and then we're just going to go with it.
Yeah, yeah, and they may even quote or give trainings or talk about people such as John Maxwell, such as Tony Robbins, such as Dean Graziosi, like people that are leaders out there making a positive change in the world, and in a way associating themselves with them, but having their own agenda. So that it's kind of like, okay, now when I got you, now when I have you under, and it's not done abruptly, it's gradually.
Marvel Television's Wonder Man, an 8-episode series, now streaming on Disney+.
A superhero remake, not exactly what we'd expect from an Oscar-winning director.
Action! Simon Williams, audition for Wonder Man.
I'm gonna need you to sign this, assuming you don't have superpowers.
I'll never work again if anyone found out.
My lips are sealed.
Marvel Television's Wonder Man. All 8 episodes now streaming, only on Disney+.
To the point that you may even end up feeling bad about not pleasing that person.
Yeah.
Because you think that person has good ideas, good mission, good vision, and you want to be part of that. But then there are things that you suddenly feel, this doesn't really sound right. But because of the whole wraparound thing, it makes you feel that maybe it is me. Maybe I am thinking, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, you missed something somewhere, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes with religion as well. It could be that how the religious leaders, like Islamic regime is a big example of that utilizes people's belief, their faith, what values they have being a good person, and but then they are utilizing it and in a way that they wanted. Of course, now they have gone so much extreme that when you're outside, you can see it, but when you're inside of that whole machinery, it can sometimes be hard to tell. And that's why, for example, in Iran, it has taken over 4 decades for more and more people to really understand what the true nature of these people is, and really be completely against whatever ideology they have, to understand that it is not good. Whatever that is, whatever they call it, it is not good.
It's not good, right? And doesn't truly align with what they say it truly aligns with.
Exactly.
Right? That's to me, that's the rub. And I look at it from kind of that same perspective of, you've been taught something your entire life, whether it's religion or politics or what have you, and then you take a step back and something doesn't seem right, and then you try and match it up, right, with what you know or what you think you know about what has been going on or what people have been saying, and there's no way to make it congruent, right? It keeps missing. You can't line it up no matter what it is. And then as soon as you are the one that asks the question, why does it not line up? Excuse me, but then you become the asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me, but that's right.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And all you're trying to do is make sense of something, to understand something, understand a concept, understand a theory, understand why this is the way that it is, why people think that way. And just because you've asked the question, now you're the one that's the problem, when no, you're not really the problem.
Yeah.
This is the problem, that it's the fable. The emperor has no clothes.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of things, there is, the consequences are, when it comes to religion itself, the consequence are of, like, okay, if you don't follow what we say, because this is what or the religion says and God says and all that, and then you go to hell. Well, we don't know if that's true or not, right? And we have to end up there first to see. And good luck with coming back and sue the person. Like, oh, you're
right.
Right. And the same thing can even be extended to the part that with these cults, with these organizations, with these, whether it's politics, again, the religious leaders in that regards, is that they can go and extend it to the point that even if you immediately, like, I did what you asked me to do and it was wrong. You did it wrong. You did it wrong. It's on you.
Right.
See, I'm doing it right, and look at me. So it's on you. And now they start to take away your confidence, and that's one thing that I started to really lose. I mean, again, being at that winner mindset, being that person that, no matter what obstacles, I was going, overcoming them one after the other. But those years, they started to really strip me off the confidence that I had in myself, that like, it must be me. Like, and I start to think of other ways of correcting it. And of course, time passes by.
Yeah. And I'm glad you went down that road, because, on one level, let's get back. You were at the highest level of your profession.
Yeah.
And the bottom kind of fell out. And like you said, it was made to feel like it was your fault.
Yeah.
It was you did it wrong.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And how did you, and you've got responsibilities at this point, right? I mean,
yeah.
You had your family. You just moved back to San Diego. You've been back for maybe a year or two, and you brought some PhD students with you. And for those that don't understand that responsibility, that's a big. They're like your family. They feel like your family.
Yeah.
You're responsible for them. You're responsible for taking care of them. You're responsible for getting them through one of the toughest processes in education. Yeah. How did you handle that? How did that shape you? How did that evolve to you? And looking back on where you are now, what would you have done differently?
So I didn't handle it well at all. I handled it exactly the way you are not supposed to do, 100%. And the reason was that because I really spent quite a bit of time on digging deep there, and I came to the point that it was me growing my success, and again, the winning mindset, and no matter what I do, at whatever I put my finger on, I succeed. I can do it. Like, I just give me a challenge, done.
Right.
That created a strong, it was my ego that took over, that it's me. I am good. I can achieve everything. And without understanding what I've done to get there, instead is like, no, I can make anything look easy. Right? Whatever I do, I shouldn't have been into science. I should have been into something that makes me more money. So so all those thoughts started to come to me and become louder and louder, because of personal development was lacking. I was not really, at best, this is what John Maxwell says, at best, I was growing accidentally.
Yes.
And not intentionally. Anything, and because of that, so accidental growth, you may or may not realize it. And the only way to realize it is actually to reflect on it, which I didn't. So anything for me that happened that brought me there was actually because of the lack of personal development. It became like a hollow. It was an empty growth. It was a bubble that I created for myself, and that was the reason that it was, ego says it's all about you. And it was all about me. So when I wanted to move away from science and start in real estate and make money and all that, well, I didn't have time for my PhD students. And well, I fought myself to where I was on my own way. So now it's up to them to do that. So bye. Like you're not going to stop me from where I want to go for me. And when you stop growing as a person, then your ego grows more and more no matter what.
And more. Yep.
And because it was a lot because of that everything else started to move. That 1 degree change of direction, and then after some time I was in a place that I didn't recognize me. I didn't recognize what I was doing. Back in when I was, for example, in Turkey, I knew that I was not supposed to be there. I mean, or it was not my final. This was I'm there because of it is, but I don't belong there. I belong somewhere else. But I knew where I was going. I was going to Sweden. I was going to pursue with my career, my academic, and reaching my goals, becoming a scientist and all that. But even if I was sleeping in a hostel with 50 other people, random people, I knew that no, this is temporary. I don't belong here. It's not like tomorrow I come back here. No, it's not going to happen. When I was in those years that I was sinking, I saw myself being back in that hostel with 50 people but the problem was that I didn't know where I was going. I knew that I didn't belong there, but I didn't even know where I was going. And that was a scary moment. And that's the part that I talk about in my book, that there are 2 kinds of people. There are those who run. Everybody is running. Since we're born, we run until we die. But some people are running towards something. They have a goal. They have a purpose. They clear. That's what keeps them positive, victorious. They're winners. They look at the possibility of what they can have, what they have, and what more they can have. And then there are people that are running away from something. And they have nowhere to run to. They just run away.
They're just running.
Leave something. They just keep running, but they're lost. They're victim-minded. There's always somebody else's fault. They focus on what they don't have. It's something that they don't want to be where they are, but they don't know where they want to be.
Right.
And that is, I was in my early years in Sweden, like my life until I was associate professor, I was running toward my goal, everything that I wanted to achieve. But when I reached there, and because the personal growth wasn't there, I started running away from something. I started running away from not having that prestige that I had created in my head, or the income level that I created in my head, or the lifestyle that I had created in my head. And the more I was running away, then the more distant I was from my actual purpose.
Yeah.
So those years that I was not sure what I was doing, but I just had to do it right, I really didn't have a goal. I didn't have um, I was running away from not being in that situation. That's how
With
far
no
I got for
direction.
myself, with no direction.
With no direction. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you talk about 1 degree. One degree doesn't sound like much,
Right.
over a short period of time.
Yeah.
1 degree over an extended period of time, you're way off course.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like you took a sharp left turn. It could be 1 degree eventually takes you so far away from where you are or where you think you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
You're lost. And I think part of the problem is, you bring up something, when we're younger, we're never taught this. We're not taught about leadership. We're not taught about, true communication. We're not taught about connection and community and those things that are what bind us and help us grow. And we find these things out when they smack us in the face. And sometimes it's too late, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing that you can do about it. And you're at a place where now it's a real problem.
Yeah.
And we're not taught about this as young people. It's not taught in schools. It's not taught in our households. It's not even really taught in church, right? And that's some of the things that we're trying to do and what we're doing now. But for someone in their 20s right now who feels like you felt,
mm-hmm.
What's the first uncomfortable conversation that they need to have?
It goes back to, that's what the FAR framework is really about.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really need to be a tough conversation. It's more of a wake up conversation, or realizing. At that age, they are awake, but it's all about realizing the most important part that they never should lose focus on, and
Mm-hmm.
that is something beyond themselves. That is something that, and it doesn't have to be like I want to change the world, but
Right.
it's got to be, as long as it contains us, then then ego can become a problem. Not that it always becomes a problem, but that it can be potentially a problem. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, the more success that person will have, the bigger are the risks for ego to take over.
Mm-hmm.
So but if it's bigger than us, then and if it always kept like that, then potentially we would never reach it in a good way. Because it's all about that stretch. It's about
Right.
the like, how far can I go?
Right.
How much can I stretch? And Tony Robbins' example of, wanted to help a few families to have food, and now there are millions of people, right? Or I don't know, but over the time he has helped millions of people.
Yes, he has. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So and there's like, okay, so how many people can we help in 1 year? So now it's stretching, constantly stretching.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's bigger than him. And it doesn't need to be, again, that huge, that much bigger from where we currently are.
Right.
So, and because we got to look at it something that is bigger, we need to grow to that. So it is the growth toward that purpose that needs to lead. Anything else is the wrong leader, is the wrong why, is the false why. It's a what. Whether it's an income, whether it's a position, whether it's a degree, whether it's a career, whatever that is, if that is the lead, that's what's leading, it can become a false why.
Yes, absolutely. And again, so much wisdom there. I talk to people about, we can't truly affect what's going on a big scale. As an individual, you can't. I mean, it's if you think that you can, again, that's going back to your ego. Right? Yeah. That's going back to who you think that. I always laugh at the question, who do you think you are? Well, I know exactly who I am, but that's a different story. I look at it at a much more simple piece, kind of like the pebble in the water. Can you affect somebody that's sitting next to you? Mm-hmm. Can you affect your neighbor? Can you help them? And then hopefully they do the same thing, and then that ripple effect goes wide. But it's we need to get back to, or we need to start teaching young people these thoughts and concepts, so that they don't have to go through what you went through, what I went through.
Yeah,
because I've been smacked in the face with some of the same things as you. We've talked about some of those things, and again, it goes back to ego. Who do you think you are? Well, I know who I thought I was, right?
Yeah,
and then reality set in, and that's part of it. And I want you to talk about your book. Throughout this conversation, we've talked about your book without actually talking about your book. So talk about your book a little bit. I want everybody, to obviously to go out and get it and read it, because it's a powerful statement in and of itself. I like how you take your life story and craft it in a way that can help other people. So talk about your book a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Tim. The idea, I don't know how much, but the idea came to me a few years ago, almost 5 years ago. And with the title. So I already had the title, but it was still about me. It was still like, I got to tell my story. I want to, like, because every time I told people a little bit about that, they were like, oh my God, that's fascinating. You should write a book. And like, yeah, I'm actually thinking about it. So I had the title already, but it was after I started actually writing it that it started, because, and that is the R part of the FAR framework, the reflection part is, and John Maxwell talks about that's really where growth happens.
Right.
So as I was really thinking about my life, things, the decisions that I made, things that I did, how I approached things, and then in spite of everything, in spite of being this victorious minded person, positive minded person, winning minded person, always wanted to do better and good and all that, I ended up destroying all that. What happened? And it was a good friend of mine that read one of the early versions of the book that pointed out that, hey, it was not that cultish organization that became your fall. It was before that. And that's when I started like, yeah, she's right. And I started to really look back, and I went all the way, and an obvious point would have been that it was my decision to leave science and start real estate that was the pivotal moment. But it was way before that. It was the decision that I made to move from Singapore to San Diego.
Yeah.
And that was going back to that one degree, because I was still, obviously, I was still on the same path that I was before, because I came here, became a faculty at Scripps Research Institute. So I was still a scientist. but I always say that the reason when I really dug deep and reflected on this really deeply, I found out that the reason that I got my PhD, that I was successful as a scientist, that I moved to Singapore and got that position, was different from the reason I moved to San Diego. And the reason I moved to San Diego was prestige. It was not doing good for the world. And that was the 1 degree difference. So that's really the essence of the book. It's all about making decisions.
Yeah.
And it's also about courage of doing difficult things, including admitting your biggest mistake, taking ownership for that. And I don't want to say I'm courageous, but that's something that I got from my parents. But it is uncomfortable and it can be something for a bad relationship, that you may have given this beautiful picture of your relationship, but to everybody else, but you're actually living in hell, and admitting and taking ownership that, I need to move on from this.
Right.
That is escaping from a false comfort that is just holding you there. It can be that, it could be that type of nuance in the comfort. What is comfort is something that is easy.
Yeah, we like that comfort.
Right.
And the more you get, the harder it is to get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I can be nerdy on that and even run, from biology point of view. When we have, I think most people have heard of antioxidants. Mm-hmm. that they are good, and the antioxidants are basically they help person to not get diseases or cancer, those things. So it's about antioxygen, the oxygen atoms, not the molecules, but the atoms. And once they're by themselves, they're very radical, and they can destroy things. But then there is a stage in the body that, like poison, fat, these things, when they need to be excreted from the body, removed, they need to go through a state of, from being like fat to waterish, to be solved in fat, to be resolved in water. That stage creates these oxidants. And that stage is a dangerous stage that can actually create diseases. If it hits a DNA, then it can be really bad consequences. But the body goes through that to get rid of the bad thing. It has to go through something more uncomfortable, more dangerous, to be able to get rid of that. Pretty much like what's going on in Iran right now.
And our prayers are with those people, and hopefully that they're going to come out on the right side of this, the good side of this. So
yeah. Sorry for the little rant there.
No, that's good, and to be able to draw that analogy so people can see how that actually works, right? But your message is all about escaping that comfort piece. But for someone listening who knows that they need to take that next step to get uncomfortable, where should they go to stay connected with you and keep that momentum going?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn, and they can just search for my name. There's only one Saeed Eshaghi with that spelling. And they can also go to my website, saeedeshaghi.com, or they can send me an email, again, saeed@saeedeshaghi.com. So it's all easy words.
Yeah, I'll put all those links in the show notes, and please go and buy Saeed's book. It's really good. And by the way, I owe you a review.
Oh, appreciate that. Yes, yes.
You'll get 5 stars from me.
Thank you.
So count.
Thank
but
you.
I'll do that
Tim.
next couple of days.
Oh no, I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. And yes, please buy the book and write an honest review on Amazon. It's only available on Amazon. Escape from Comfort. Yeah, hope it helps.
Well, Saeed, thank you so much for spending some time with us today and sharing your story. I can't thank you enough for doing that and your friendship. And I know I'll see you on the screen here real soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim.
Everybody.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to get your free ebook, Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. You can also register for the Forming for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.
The right window treatments change everything: your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 5-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off site-wide, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.